The story of Mahatma Gandhi, the man who moved a nation with truth. In the small coastal town of Porbandar, India, on October 2, 1869, a frail child was born into a humble family. His name was Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, a boy who would one day be called Mahatma, meaning great soul. From a young age, Gandhi was quiet, shy, and deeply thoughtful. He was not a brilliant student, nor was he particularly strong or outspoken. But he was observant, watching carefully how truth and lies, kindness and cruelty shaped the world around him. One story from his childhood would later become a guiding lesson for his entire life. When Gandhi was in school, he once copied a word from another student's paper during a spelling test. The teacher noticed and tried to prompt him to correct it. But Gandhi refused. He wouldn't lie to cover his mistake. He failed that test but learned something much more valuable. Truth was more important than success. The journey to England. At 18, Gandhi left India to study law in London, a journey that changed him forever. He promised his mother he would stay vegetarian and avoid temptation, and he kept that promise in a foreign land where he was often ridiculed for it. In London, he discovered not just law, but the power of discipline, self-control, and moral courage. He studied the teachings of great thinkers like Jesus Christ, Leo Tolstoy, and Henry David Thoreau, which would later shape his philosophy of nonviolence and civil disobedience. But when he returned to India as a young lawyer, he struggled to find work. He was too timid to argue in court, and clients didn't trust him. That could have been the end of his story, but destiny had other plans. A new beginning in South Africa. In 1893, Gandhi accepted a job offer in South Africa. He thought it would be a short trip, but it became the turning point of his life. One cold evening, Gandhi boarded a first-class train to Pretoria. Despite having a valid ticket, a white passenger objected to sharing the compartment with a brown-skinned man. Gandhi was thrown off the train at Pietermaritzburg station and left shivering on the platform. That night, sitting alone in the freezing cold, Gandhi made a decision that would change history. He realized that injustice could not be fought with violence or revenge. It could only be fought with truth, dignity, and courage. He decided he would never again submit quietly to humiliation. He would fight, but peacefully. The birth of Satyagraha. In South Africa, Gandhi began organizing the Indian community to resist racist laws through Satyagraha, a philosophy meaning truth force, the idea that one can conquer injustice not by hatred but by moral strength and love. He led thousands of Indian workers in nonviolent protests against unfair taxes and discriminatory laws. Many were beaten and jailed, including Gandhi himself, but he refused to respond with violence. Slowly, his peaceful resistance won respect. Newspapers across the world began writing about this strange little man in simple clothes, who faced whips and bullets with calm conviction. After 2 decades of struggle, Gandhi returned to India in 1915, ready to lead his homeland toward freedom. The fight for Indian independence. When Gandhi came back, India was under British colonial rule. Millions were poor, voiceless, and afraid. But Gandhi saw hope in the hearts of ordinary people, farmers, workers, and women, and he taught them that freedom begins with self-respect. He wore only simple hand-woven cotton to support poor Indian weavers and inspire unity through simplicity. Then came one of his most powerful acts, the Salt March of 1930. The British had imposed a heavy tax on salt, something every Indian needed daily. Gandhi decided to defy it peacefully. He walked 240 miles from his ashram to the Arabian Sea, followed by thousands of Indians, and made salt from seawater. This simple act of rebellion shook the British Empire. The world watched as an old man, armed with nothing but conviction, challenged one of the most powerful empires in history. The power of nonviolence. Gandhi's methods were revolutionary not in bloodshed but in moral force. He said, "An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind." When riots broke out between Hindus and Muslims, Gandhi fasted until both sides stopped fighting. People wept and laid down their weapons out of respect and love for him. He proved that nonviolence is not weakness, but the highest form of strength because it requires more courage to forgive than to fight. The end of a great soul. In 1947, after decades of struggle, India finally gained independence. But the joy was mixed with pain. The country was divided into India and Pakistan, and terrible violence erupted between Hindus and Muslims. Gandhi, heartbroken by the bloodshed, spent his final days fasting and praying for peace. On January 30th, 1948, as he walked to his prayer meeting in Delhi, he was shot by a man who disagreed with his message of unity. His last words were, "He ram, oh God." The world mourned the death of a man who had shown humanity that true power lies not in weapons, but in truth, love, and compassion. His eternal legacy. Gandhi's teachings inspired leaders across the globe. Martin Luther King Jr. in America's civil rights movement. Nelson Mandela in South Africa's struggle against apartheid. Aung San Suu Kyi in Myanmar's democracy movement. He taught the world that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the courage to face conflict without hatred. Today, his legacy continues, not just in statues and books, but in every act of kindness, every peaceful protest, every person who chooses love over anger. The lesson of his life. Mahatma Gandhi's story reminds us. One person, armed with truth and love, can challenge an empire. Change begins not in government halls, but in the hearts of ordinary people. True freedom is not just political, it is freedom from fear, greed, and hatred. Gandhi once said, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." And that single sentence still lights the path for humanity today.